Hello, and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Spectrum, Every Age, Every Need. I have to make sure I say that because I think there is another podcast out there by the name of Beyond the Spectrum. And while wishing them the very best, we wish to also promote clarity. So, anyway, we are going to be talking today, and by we, since I do not speak French, I mean our good friend, Susanna Peace Lavelle.
Hello.
Maurice is not with us today. And as you know, one of the great things about this platform and the show is that we have revolving uh, hosts and co hosts because life does what it does for everybody, but life does twice as much of what it does for those of us who are parents or caregivers to those who are neurodivergent or have special needs. But we're going to be talking today about hygiene. That may seem like an odd topic, but then again, you may think that's right up my alley. Either way, we are going to get right into it on another episode of Beyond the Spectrum. All right, the greatest temptation is to resist the urge to just let that continue to play and ride out and groove.
I know. I know. Let's just do that
Yeah,
today.
yeah, maybe we should do that. But before we get started, I want to thank our friends at Billy Footwear. They make adaptive footwear for all. The story of the founder, Billy Price, is one of inspiration and is amazing. Billy suffered a catastrophic accident that left him paralyzed his first week of college. Learned how to do everything for himself all over again, with the exception of putting shoes on his feet. A prototype was created, and Billy Footwear was born, and millions of lives have been inspired since. And I know that literally because they have actually sold over 1 million pairs of shoes, and that was of about more than 2 years ago. So if you click on the link that you will find in the show notes, you will get 10% off your final purchase, and that includes when they happen to have a sale of any kind. They're a great company with a great cause. The other thing we want to do is encourage you, if you or someone you know is a male caregiver or father to one who's neurodivergent or has special needs, we want to encourage you to join our men's group, The Den. When I say men's group, you may think, as I once did, that you envision guys sitting around a campfire trying to figure out who's got the biggest kill, who can grow a beard the fastest, which is what I used to think. But I had the opportunity of being part of a men's group just in general. And I thought after about 2 years being in that group and missing only one call or one meeting, that if men who are neurodivergent and are not of the special needs community need to find a place where they're encouraged to express their hopes, fears, desires, wins, victories, and losses, then that probably applies twice as much. I did the same thing I did on the last show. I just said probably, right? But I think everyone knows I
I
meant
I think everybody
probably.
gets the gist, Shawn.
Yeah, probably applies 10 times more so to those of us who are caregivers or dads, because society, let's just face it, and Susanna, it encourages women to state their uncertainty a little more than it does for men. And unfortunately, what we've done is bought into that. So there's a bunch of men out there who just aren't sure and aren't even comfortable raising their hand to say, I don't know, I'm afraid of this, I'm uncertain, or have a place where they can simply share the victories. And so if you look in the link, which you'll find in the show notes, registration is free. And let's get into the show. So we're talking about hygiene. What does that mean when you're a parent or caregiver to a child with special needs? But we're also talking about victories, kind of weaving things in and out of the episode. As we speak at the time of this recording, my family and I are preparing to uh, go home to my home of the U.S. Virgin Islands and surprise my dad for his birthday. And it is a big milestone because, yeah, my dad doesn't know. I haven't seen him in a while, even though we talk all the time. But it is Elijah's first time on a plane. And flying from California, it's not like the East Coast where there's a direct flight. So I'm going to be sharing and documenting everything about it. Hopefully, people will be inspired and get something from it. We've had guests on the show that are, certified autism travel agents, and everything, and we'll explore that more. But I'll be sharing some of what the personal experience has been thus far. I haven't wrapped around my head around the joy that I expect to take place, and it's just been stressful, some of my own doing, but here we are.
I mean, okay, this is a big day. This
Yeah,
is a momentous day. I mean, this is a very big milestone.
yeah.
New listeners, how old your son is. So there is
He
some
is,
context here.
yeah, there's the context. He's 19. He was diagnosed with autism at the age of 3. And I've already accepted that there's going to be lessons and wisdom given should I choose to receive it from this trip for one of several reasons. My dad is his actual birthday was last week, but he turned 82 or 3. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Um, and ever since Elijah has been diagnosed and we talked about travel, we've always thought that, being in the Los Angeles area, what we would do is have a warm up trip. We would fly to the Bay Area up to San Francisco or to Vegas or some short trip. But my sister, came up with the idea, not just the idea, but really first the acceptance that my dad is not one to say, not that he can't say no, but when it comes to the idea of coming out here, which he's done on numerous occasions, but he's got at a phase in life where he's just not crazy about sitting on a plane for a couple hours. And to get from here to the Virgin Islands or vice versa, you're on a plane, on more than one plane,
Yeah.
several hours. And she pretty much arrived at the conclusion that, he's not going to say that he's not getting on a plane, but that's not something he wants to do. So she just said, you know, what if you guys just come down and we surprise him like for his birthday? What if we do that? And without thinking about it, I just said, yeah, let's do it. Laura said the same thing, my wife, and we agreed that we would figure it out. And like many other things in life, if you wait to or wait for the perfect time or when things are right, then the only thing that will happen is the passage of time. Because for many things, there just is no such thing as a right time.
Mm.
I used to just have this thing where I was like, we get on a plane. I think I'm going to be on the news. I just can't see any way around that. you know.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
we did. What I will say that we've done so far is we did TSA pre-check, and while since it is the U.S. Virgin Islands, a passport is not needed. We just happened to months before this plan was even made, gotten him a passport and everything, and so it's worked out in that regard. So we're going to be crazy enough to believe that more serendipitous things will take place, and it's going to work itself out. Does that make me immune from the what other people think and the stares and all that kind of stuff? No, but we're going to do the best that we can, and it's interesting because, like I said, it's a long flight. We have a 3 hour layover. We leave tonight, so there's the matter of sleep, lack thereof, all those things, and it all ties into today's topic of hygiene as well. Today, hygiene isn't a problem because the idea of getting shaved and taking a bath and all that kind of thing to get on a plane for the first time is kind of exciting to him, but we don't really know what it's going to be like until we go.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, I'm excited that you're documenting this process and this journey. Wow. I wish there was sort of like a real-time live stream that we could also be privy to so that I
Yeah.
really want to see your dad's reaction, Sean, because that's going to be precious,
I'm
right?
already thinking of exactly how that's going to be filmed because that is exactly my thought too. So we're going to make sure that we take care of that.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll be
Well,
documenting by video along the way as much as I can, how
yeah,
we take each step too. Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, so okay, so let's weave in some hygiene here, and I think that hygiene is especially something that, well, let me speak for myself, that I think about all the time in terms of my daughter, who's also 19, like
Hmm.
Elijah. Her name is Arizona. She was diagnosed with autism when she was 2.5 years old, and She still happens to be in high school. She's a 12th grader. She's a senior in high school and graduating in June.
Milestone.
And and what?
I
Yeah.
said milestone.
My talking about I just we celebrate all kinds of tiny, big,
All victories,
all
big and small, for none are
everything.
really small. Yes.
Right. We're just like, what? Let's celebrate. Um, but so we have teenagers. Okay. So let's
Hmm.
talk about
Hmm.
hygiene in teenagers, right?
Yes.
Then
Yep.
we have hygiene and, kiddos on the spectrum, kiddos with disabilities, unique needs, complex medical needs. You fill in the blank, right? So
Hmm.
I just feel like it's kind of like a Venn diagram sort of situation,
Hmm.
right? So you have
Yes.
hygiene, teenagers, spectrum, other
Hmm.
things. Um, and it's, again, I think it's sometimes even if I'm not wanting to think about it, I have to think about it because then a
Hmm.
waft of, particular odor
Well,
comes
that's how it
my
usually starts
way.
because when they're small and they don't necessarily want to take a bath, before puberty hits, first of all, we understand as caregivers that we have to pick our battles. You know, normal or neurotypical parenting, you know, especially in communities of color such as ours, I just think, and people can correct me if I'm wrong, I just think this is culturally accurate, you
Mm,
know, which is that, you do what you're told and there's a certain amount of you move when you say move and then means like, no, get in the bath. But what happens is you realize that you have to pick and choose your battles because there's certain things for which you cannot compromise. And then there's certain things that you grew up without compromise as a person of color that you have to make that compromise because the battles need to be chosen. And hygiene may be one of them. Maybe one day, all right, we'll make sure we take a bath tomorrow, and you can kind of skip there and bargain. But when it becomes an issue, is when your nose tells you for the very first time because they've hit puberty, and you're like, no, 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 that has to take place today.
there is, I mean, we call it, I'm like, somebody is functified in this
Mm-hmm.
house, and it's not
Mm-hmm.
me. By the way, it's just me and her in the house.
Yeah.
I mean, we have cats too, but they're pretty clean animals. They self-clean. Like I just, one of the things that I think we can, start off with is sort of the beginning stages of life, right? So we have
Mm-hmm.
the newborn, toddler, early years. And I know that, children on the spectrum can be very averse to, well, this we do know for a fact, very, averse to sensory sensitivity, sensory things. That could be water, that could be touch, that could be soap, that could be she absolutely would not step on sand. So being here in Los Angeles, it was like we live so close to the beach, and ultimately she found a solution, which was she put rain boots on and she called them her beach boots. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but water is something that it's again, it's such a spectrum. Like some kiddos love being in the water; they find so much calm and peace and regulation being in the water.
Mm-hmm.
Others,
Yeah.
it's like as if you're asking them to put themselves in a tub full
Acid
of
or
like
something.
acid or like 500 pins and needles sticking up at them, right? We don't
Yeah.
you know we don't have we can't tell, especially with our kiddos who are not able to communicate yet, mm,
Mm-hmm.
what's really going on. So I feel like we have to acknowledge all of the different pieces and factors and ingredients that can go into what does it mean to um, be hygienic, right?
Mm-hmm.
What does
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
mean? Are we talking just about being clean? Are we talking about um, health and safety and everything else that can be part of it? What do you think,
Right.
Shawn? Yeah.
Well, I think it means several things to different parents, and it's a good example of why we need to remain conscious and curious, because my perspective is always limited to that of raising a boy. When it comes to
Yeah.
raising a daughter and you're talking about puberty, you're talking about aspects that I know nothing about, and other people are in a similar situation. And and we've had conversation about this before. I think it's a great idea if you could share some of that, because there's someone out there that has a daughter that's newly diagnosed and is on paper nowhere near them experiencing, say, their first menstrual cycle, but as time, knowing
Mhm.
how time moves,
Mhm.
that's going to come
Mhm.
before you know it. And somebody's either thinking about it, or there's somebody out there listening that has no idea, but now that I've mentioned it, is saying, wait a minute, I didn't even think about that. How do you deal with that? You dealt with yours in a very effective and I think creative way. Why don't you share that if you don't mind?
Sure, I'm happy to. I'm laughing. I'm not laughing. I am laughing because I mean, it's such a journey. And I will say, even though before, actually, probably as soon as Arizona was diagnosed with autism, so she was 2.5, like I said. And when she was 3, 4, 5, 6, she had a really, really, really hard time learning how to potty train.
Hmm.
So, because it was such a challenge, it was like her brain and her body were not communicating in a way that,
Which
um,
is normal.
yeah, yeah, right. And so it was it was so challenging to try to come up with different ways for her to be able to learn how to do that sort of instinctively, intrinsically from the inside out of, okay, I
Right.
need to use the bathroom, as opposed to just going in her pants or on the floor or whatever it was, right? It was a very,
Hmm.
very lengthy process, very challenging. And
Hmm.
so at the start of that process, and again, this is everything is just such a lesson for us to just be focused on our child that's in front of us, as opposed to always hearing the comparisons or listening to the noise outside, which is, oh, my daughter was potty trained at 18 months, whatever it is, right? So
Hmm.
I remember thinking that this was such a big lesson for me. Like, I'm just going to focus on my daughter, Arizona, what she's able to do today. Let's see if we can make progress. Let's continue to move forward. I don't care if it's 1 millimeter at a time. Our
Hmm.
goal, my goal, which I wanted for her to be able to experience, was independent toileting, right?
Hmm.
And I even took classes at the regional center on, toilet training 101, all kinds of managing behaviors around toilet training. It was like a very, very big part of my early motherhood. Okay.
Hmm.
So as soon as that started happening, I was like, oh no, you know, because there's going to be, she is a female, right? Born female. She is going to get her period someday. She's going to get her menstrual cycle
Hmm.
someday. And
Part of life.
I was horrified at the thought, because there were so many challenges with potty training. And I was like, oh my goodness, I don't even know what to do. So around the time that Arizona was, I think she was probably 4 at the time. I met this mother who's friends of a friend, and she had a daughter who was also diagnosed with autism. And in that day and age, all of the therapy centers, social skills, all of the groups that we were a part of for kiddos on the spectrum, Arizona was typically the only girl in those groups
Mm.
and classes. Things have changed. Now I see a little bit more of a sprinkling of girls in different therapies and,
Hmm.
centers and things like that, groups. But back then there was really not a lot. And so I glommed onto this mom. I was like, hold on a second, you have a girl. And her daughter was 2 years older than Arizona. So I just used, she was like she's still such a very good friend of mine today. She was like my beacon in the dark. Like, she was like my
Hmm.
lighthouse. And now, obviously, you have one person on the spectrum that is one person on the spectrum. And so Arizona and her daughter didn't have a lot of, like, necessarily same sort of characteristics, qualities, temperaments even. Um, but they were both girls, and they were both, going through this experience of being, having differently wired brains. And
Right.
so I just kept, asking her, like, what should I look forward to in terms of, like, bodies changing and puberty coming up. And so she really, really helped me with that. And so because I was so worried about, the pending puberty happening, and especially Arizona getting her period, let's be real.
Hmm.
Um, because to me, that was going to be the biggest, like, sort of unexpected thing from her from her eyes.
Yes, if
And
she doesn't know
so,
that it's coming and it happens one day, like,
I
I
mean,
mean,
wouldn't if you just saw blood out of the blue
yeah,
coming from
right,
your body, I think
right.
that would be very, you know, traumatic,
For
could be traumatic.
anyone, yeah, yeah.
So I had the foresight, probably because I was so scared about it, to just
Hmm.
start talking to her in a very sort of literal way. And then every time I experienced my, monthly visitor, if you were,
Hmm.
I would be like, Arizona, come take a look. Sorry if this is TMI, sorry if this is too graphic, but for Arizona, it was often and still is so effective to be so literal with her about
Hmm.
everything
Yeah,
that is going to take place, right? And I would
right.
show her, and here's
Hmm.
what's happening. And look, I'm going to change my pad. I'm going to change my sanitary because this is going to happen for a few days. In Arizona, come take a look. For probably about 2 years before she actually got her period. So I would say when she was around 11 years old onward. Um, so much so that actually when her period finally did come, which was a month after she turned 13, fun fact, I got my period a month after I turned 13, which is so
Wow.
kind of interesting, right?
Yeah.
Um, so it was sort of a non-event. It was
Hmm.
actually a non-event. And so I had built up all this fear in my own mind around how horrible this was going to be, how how much of a meltdown she would have around it, and
Hmm.
it just didn't turn out to be that way. And now she
Few
just handles
things.
everything by herself. I mean, I was like, it was the biggest shock of my lifetime up until this point, to be honest.
Hmm. Few things in life are as powerful as the unknown.
Mhm.
The unknown can be something that is powerful and inspires hope. It can also be, and unfortunately, I don't know if fortunately, unfortunately, more accurately to say factually, it is something that more often than not inspires fear. And that's because what's equally as powerful as the unknown is the imagination. And the imagination is as underestimated
Mhm.
as it is powerful.
Yeah, right.
Because and I'm saying that to myself now as we get ready for this day to get Elijah
Yes.
on a plane for the first time.
Yes. Yes.
And I have to say that most situations that I really worry about in life, generally speaking, none that I have experienced have been no experience has been as difficult as what I imagined it would be.
Mm.
And by the same
Wow.
token, we have situations where and I think most people can relate to that. Everybody's got some situation where things turn out to be more difficult. Where the opposite is true. It turned out to be more difficult than they expected. But I also consider that one of my many blessings to count because my life has been a series of blessings and circumstances,
Yeah.
but that goes back to kind of why we're here because everybody's experience is not the same. And as you and Maurice have stated before, as you guys were the first to say this on this show, which is that we're here sharing our experiences. We're not advocating as experts. And I believe even
Mhm.
the people that we have on that are professionals, um, even then they're human beings. Everybody's just sharing what their experience has been, professional or otherwise. The second that somebody acknowledges that they're an expert, they're acknowledging subconsciously or consciously that there isn't anything left to learn. And if there isn't anything left to learn, then why be here?
Mm. Yeah. Right.
you know
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, the other thing, I guess even though the procedure is different because of where the razor goes, the other thing that we can
Oh, no.
relate to is shaving. That's a part of hygiene. Like for me, when Elijah was
Yeah.
probably, I don't know how old he was, but it was before he had facial hair, and knowing his sensitivity to textures. And this is an example of where things weren't as bad as I thought. I used to think, how are we going to be at a point where him shaving is some normal thing?
Mm,
The itch and that's going to be such a problem. And you know what? It hasn't really been. Now he still doesn't shave himself,
okay.
but
Right,
we
right.
had our experience. And the other thing about hygiene is that it becomes easier to deal with when our children care about how they look and they take pride in it. And as soon as that happens, then it's like, I want to smell good. I want to look good. And in his case, we think he's never verbalized, cut my hair like daddy. He never says that because in his case, he has some limitations, but he is verbal. But even though he's never said that, he went from wearing his hair in a curly fro to just
Yeah.
first asking for it to be cut shorter, and he would say, "Go to a like black barbershop, get a black," and because I
Yep.
don't, I think we had showed him a couple of pictures, and then he figured out what he wanted, and he started cutting his hair himself with a pair of scissors, and that
Oh,
included and that included a fade.
what?
Yeah, and he did a damn good job of it too.
Say what?
Yeah, yeah, he did. He
That's
had a little, he had a little
amazing.
little fade with a high top, and he did that, and then at one point, then eventually it was just like one curl that was sticking up. And then it got to the point where eventually he started saying, "Shave like shave bald," and I was like, okay. And I was taking a while to find the right barbershop to take him to because truth of the matter is, I'm sure what I did in my effort to protect him and my own feelings
Yeah,
was overcomplicated because I was getting anxiety doing that. I'm like, if we go into a
totally.
barbershop and they're not understanding, I don't know what I'm going to do. We never got the chance to do that because he went from the scissors to picking up clippers on his own and just cutting his hair. Now, when he would do that, I went from, I started, let me back up a bit. What we did is I started cutting it for him and I
Okay.
enjoyed the heck out of it. It was
Oh,
cathartic. It was like this connection time. And eventually, what he started doing is cutting it on his own. And what he would do is because you could see the front pretty easy, he would do that. And then he has not quite mastered looking in the mirror to see the back.
got
So
it.
he would have patches in the back that had hair, and I'd be like, "Dude, you look like we live in a Shaolin temple." Like I just
I got you.
here,
I
we
have
can't
the
have you running
visuals.
around.
I got it.
Yeah, and to be honest, my selfish thought was people are going to be like, "Oh my gosh, look at it! Who cut his hair?" And as soon as they found out that I did, they go, "Why'd you leave big globs or patches of hair in the back?" But my wife, Laura, in her wisdom, was like, "You know what? Just leave him and let it be because that's how he's going to learn how to do it." I was like, you know that that's
Wise
very
one.
wise.
Wise one,
So
that
just
Laura. Yeah.
yes, so just let it be. And so now there's like little bits in the back. But the other thing that's interesting that happened is he um he got real sensitive to the clippers that we use. So the one that's used for the face, it cuts
Mhm.
fairly close. That's what he uses, and it takes a little more. And he wasn't sensitive to the sound of the regular clippers before. Now he still doesn't shave on his own, but part of him taking a bath is that one of us will help him do that. He's used an electric one before in his face, but it's not as close, so it doesn't get that clean. So that's been our evolution, and now what's happened is I've let it go because for any parent,
Yeah.
whether your child is neurotypical or otherwise, the biggest battle is trying to strike a balance between giving your child fish and teaching them to fish.
Oh, man.
And yes, and so the fish that he now has, which relates to his own hygiene, I had to eventually embrace that being let go because I remember that's our time to connect. But is it about me
Yeah.
or is it about him?
Right.
You know?
Well, that is the never-ending question. right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's part of this beautiful journey of life together. But I was going to say something about the idea that, there is self-awareness with our kiddos, children, including adult children, young adult children, who are starting to take an interest in how they present themselves to the world. So I know Elijah
Mhm.
forever wanted to just be in a full suit every day. I
Mhm.
don't know what has
Mhm.
changed since, if anything has changed. Arizona, when she started high school, she decided she was going to have like a goth look,
Mhm.
which I don't know where she got that from because that's not
Yeah.
anything like my aesthetic, but she kind of like this Wednesday Addams sort of look. And
Mhm.
so she would do, she would wear two braids every day. I have to do her hair still. Um,
Mhm.
and would only wear all black. Okay.
Mm.
Sometimes a white accent, sometimes a gray accent, otherwise just all black head to toe. Okay. Summer, winter,
Right.
fall,
Right.
spring.
Mhm.
But that doesn't mean that she smelled good. Okay. Shawn, like,
That's funny you say that because with him with the
you know
suit,
what I'm saying? Like,
it was kind of
so,
like that. I got the look good, but do I have to take care of the other stuff? Yeah, they go hand in
well,
hand.
and she is a girl who always has liked to take a shower every night, a bath every night. I have to get in there with her in the bath, in the shower, if I want to do any shaving.
Mhm.
I have to do the shaving for her because she can't. And she has, dark, thick brown dark brown hair on her legs, under her arms. I'm
Mhm.
not that hairy of a person, so it came from her
Mhm.
father's side. But either
Yeah.
way, like, it's very noticeable if she doesn't shave. And when you don't
Yeah.
shave, especially under your arms, and I know boys are different or whatever, but the sweat hangs it hangs out
Mhm.
in there and just stays in there. So it's
Yeah.
like, even though she showers every day, uses deodorant, all of these things, you're running around in school and class, you're doing PE, um, adaptive PE or whatever it may be in your school, right? It's just, can you
Well,
imagine?
look, I've woken myself up from a non-existent sleep when I've just used the bathroom. I mean, just not being, graphic, but literally just going to the bathroom, like pull up a shirt or move something, and you're like, wait a minute, I showered today. Why do I smell like that now?
What
As
is
a
that
as,
mustiness?
well, there's a word for it. Okay,
Oh, no.
my word for it.
Okay.
When I was in like my late teens, probably my 20s, I would develop this thing. You could use the bathroom, and I'm like, man, I took a bath today. Why do I have a case of crotchetus? Why is that?
Wait, what? Crotchetous? What do you
Crotchetus.
wait, you have to spell that.
It can be spelled as you wish. All I knew was that, you know, you could have something emanate from the crotchetus area, and you'd be like, I know I showered and I showered well with pride.
Oh my
Why
goodness.
is there why is there still a case of crotchetus? So
Oh,
yes. So
man. Okay,
which is
just
interesting for the trip. My wife comes home yesterday. Laura comes home yesterday because we're like, we need these travel things. We're trying to compartmentalize everything because I am
yeah.
the king of a lot, right? And it's
Mm.
interesting. I say I'm the king of a lot, but I was just admitting yesterday that I realized that my tendency to maybe not my tendency to pack at the last minute, which just full transparency, we're leaving tonight. I'm packing when I get up when we finish recording here. Okay, it's only a couple days, so it's not that bad, but I got this. But what I would tend to do is overpack. When I used to go from St. Thomas to St. Croix as a kid, my uncle would pick me up from the airport and he would say, oh, but you came to stay. because
Yeah.
because my mentality all my life has been
Yeah.
that I'd rather have too many things that I don't need than not have something I need and find out when I unpack.
Yeah.
But that's not the king of a lot. That's actually a scarcity mindset,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know? So
Yes.
trying to minimize it, I'm like, and I've never been one to get travel size toothpaste or shaving cream or anything like that. I just jam everything in the bag.
Mm.
But in my effort to evolve, I'm telling my wife, I was like, we should make sure we take because we have like electric toothbrushes too. They're big, right?
Mm.
Let's leave those. We should get some travel toothbrushes, travel deodorant, whatever.
Sure.
My wife goes, I got this for you guys. And they're not a sponsor, so I'm not going to get anything for it. But It was a can of Mando, which is a brand of full body deodorant.
They have that for
So,
men too?
oh yeah,
Oh, they
yeah,
have it for women for
yeah. They
sure.
have it. They have it for everybody, and they tell you you spray it like everywhere. So, here's something I need to make
Everywhere.
sure I trademark crotchetus before they take that. They
No,
could easily.
my good. I don't think anybody's gonna ever take that. Ever, Shawn.
They should. It works. It kills
That's
crotchetus
going
right
to
away.
be okay. Yeah, let's contact a trademark attorney. But
Okay.
that is hilarious because, yeah, listen, and especially when you're traveling far.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because you're gonna what, fly to Miami or something, right? Take a 3-hour layover or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
have a layover
Yeah.
because you're gonna fly
Yeah.
overnight, which is really
Yes.
like 5 hours. And so you'll get there like
Yeah.
5 a.m.,
That's the other
6
thing.
a.m. their
That's
time, but it's really 3 a.m. our time, right?
right. That's the other thing that's worth sharing. I'll share how it worked out. But this morning, Laura rolls over and tells me she grabs the iPad and she goes, "I found this a sleeping pod." I'm like, "What?" Because what we're doing is
Oh, yeah.
usually you go through either Miami or in this case, Atlanta. And she says, and the airline that we booked on is Delta. She says, in their lounge they have a sleep pod. It's like, oh, okay, because Elijah for years has struggled with sleep. Those in the audience will probably know that boys, generally speaking, produce less melatonin than girls. Those on the spectrum produce even less melatonin. So
Oh,
keeping rock star hours is part of our experience as caregivers when autism is part of the puzzle. And there were times, we had one summer where he would go, I don't know, like 20 hours, like without sleep, and we would just be like beat. And with medication, which we turn to as a last resort, he's stabilized in that regard. And so we fly out tonight, like 10:45.
mhm.
Um, there's a car that picks us up like 6:45 with TSA and everything like that. So that alone is a big window between when we get picked up and when we depart. When we,
Yeah.
when the plane takes off. So you've got that, then you have the 3 hour layover. And so we've got the pod and we're gonna see how that goes because he's probably gonna take some medication. Like I think we're gonna give it to him like maybe on the way to the airport. Again, this is trial and error.
Okay. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So we're gonna see how that works so that he continues to get the sleep. Because like you said, there's a 3 hour difference in terms of time. So there's a 3 hour difference, and then we get there and you kind of hit the ground sort of running. You get, so it's
Yeah.
gonna be interesting.
It's daytime. Yeah. You're gonna have the full
Yeah.
day tomorrow, and then it's gonna be a lot of, "Oh my gosh," and, seeing all your friends and family and, the surprise of it all for your father, and which I think is
Mm-hmm.
fantastic and amazing, and I'm so excited for you all.
Thank you.
Um, and then also traveling too, you're kind of like off schedule. So,
Very.
right? And sometimes you miss a bath or a shower on a travel day getting somewhere and on the way back. I've noticed that
Mm-hmm.
sometimes happens and it's just something to be
Funk travels not only on your playlist but on your body.
I mean, when people walk by, you're like, woof. Like I will, I'll pick up Arizona from school, which I do every day.
Mm-hmm.
And, um, she'll get in the car and it's like a hot box. I'm like, "What is happening?" I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I love the outfits that she puts together. I love her sense of style but it's just there's this thing. I'm like, "You have been eating." She's like obsessed with this garlic spread, this whipped garlic spread from Trader Joe's. It's
Mm-hmm.
delicious, and she puts it on everything, and she dips her, garlic naan crackers into the garlic whipped garlic sauce, and I was like,
Mm.
"Honey pie, that garlic is coming through your pores, okay?
There's vampires that are countries away going,
Stay
"Do
away
you
from
smell
her."
something? Do you smell something?"
Right. And
It's
and
coming
she
from
just
California.
man, it's like it's
Yeah.
this thing where it just doesn't bother her, and I don't even think that she's not aware, but it's
Do you know
just I'm
what?
like, "Woof."
That again, the analogy that I've used about Superman coming to Earth, discovering that he has heat vision, and it starts out as a problem. He probably burned down the Kent's barn, right?
Right.
But when he learned to harness it, heat up a cup of coffee a mile away, perfect temperature, don't touch anybody else. That not
Okay.
giving two F's,
Yeah.
that is something else to like, how do you harness that in the right direction? Because that can be a gift also.
Well, of course. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, 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 no. Of course. As we know, I think
Yeah.
we're
You
the
know,
ones who are
it's
concerned.
us.
It's us, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's uh, we need to be asking ourselves all the time, which I do all the time. Thank you for this reminder
Mm-hmm.
again, Shawn. Which is,
Mm-hmm.
what can we change about our response or reaction or expectation,
Yeah.
around, it's like I'm just so worried that people are gonna like maybe make fun of her, or a potential someone who she might want to date at some point in
Well,
her
you know
life.
what?
She's not at that stage, but at some, she wants to find love and a partner and a
And that's a whole other
companion.
thing too. Yeah, that's the thing that worries us. And you know what though? Here's where I'm going to give you some grace.
Okay,
You don't sound like
please.
you sound like you're concerned about her more than you're concerned about what other people think. And the reason why that's easy for me to see is
Okay.
because that has been my evolution. I would be lying if I said that I don't care what other people think. But
Yeah.
not only do I care less, but my reasons for caring are different
Yes.
too. I
That's
used to
right.
care before about how it might look, but I care about what he's going he would go through. And I'm going to tie this into, because I'm going to keep everybody posted. The last episode, which actually aired today, I shared with Maurice and the audience that I had my first social encounter where it got ugly.
Oh,
Yeah, Elijah is going through a phase where, and has been for a while, where he collects brochures, business cards, literature of any kind, and shopping bags of different sizes. And
okay.
I didn't name where it was before. I still won't name the location, but I will tell you. When we go into Target, he does the same thing. And within Target, there's a counter for CVS drugstore within the store. And when he goes there, he will ask for a paper bag. And so several lessons here. What I used to do,
Okay.
because he would ask and he's not clear with his speech, and I would speak up for him and tell them what he's asking for. One, to help him, but two, if I'm really being honest, it's so we could get through with it quickly also.
I know. I get
And
it.
what I've yes, and what I've done in my attempt to give him fish as opposed to feeding him fish is to back up and let him ask. And if he says it and they don't understand, my concern is more for him than them. So if he is not clear and I'm sorry, I can't understand you. Whereas I would speak for him,
I know.
I'll have him repeat it 50 times if it takes that. So what he does is he'll ask for a paper bag. They give it to him. A couple weeks ago, we went in there. We gave him the bag, and the pharmacist, because I know she had on a white coat, she was standing a little bit towards the back, and she was just looking at him like he had three horns and two tails. And I understand looking, because other people look too and they're kind of like, but she was just staring, like gawking. Like I expected her eyes to water because she wasn't blinking. And I usually don't say anything, but my response was, he's just getting a paper bag and some brochures. Don't worry, he's not going to rob you. And her response was, oh, I'm just, and I was like, yeah, like whatever. So that's that. The following week we go in there, and now granted, we've gone to other places where there's a pharmacy counter and he asked for a bag and they said, sorry, we can't give you a bag unless you're actually picking up a prescription, just
Uh-huh.
for like
Sure.
security purposes. I'm like,
Sure.
okay. So this time we go back to the same Target a week later. He asks again, and I'm telling him, and for those that are watching on YouTube, you'll see he'll take his thumb almost like right by his ear and have his index finger up towards his head, and he'll say, excuse me, a brown CVS paper bag, please. And sometimes he'll say it either quiet or very fast altogether, because he's big on brands and specifics. So I
Yep.
would tell him, all you have to do is just say, may I have a bag? So he's asking, and the person behind the counter kind of looks around almost as though, is it okay? And I guess somebody told them, you can't. And I said, yeah, you can't unless we're picking up a prescription. So then he says to me almost like, well, can we get a prescription? Like, we don't get them
Right.
at we don't get them at this location. And I didn't
Mhm.
even realize
Mhm.
the gift of him being to discern, okay, well, if I can't get it without the prescription, Daddy, what if we get a prescription? And
Yeah.
they said no to that. And I overlooked the next gift that came.
Mm.
Because when he kept asking, and they said no, he then asked, can we buy the bag? Buy the bag? And I'm thinking, that's fantastic for him to then look, if I give you money, will you give me the bag? He's bartering. And the guy behind the counter says, oh, buy. And then he looks back almost like, well, can we sell the bag? And he's given a no again. And he keeps asking. He's not
Wow.
rude, but
Right,
he's
right.
persistent.
Yeah.
And he asked the guy behind the counter by name because he can see his name tag. And this whole
Oh.
time, the pharmacy is still staring. The pharmacist is still staring. And some
Same
of them are
one.
looking kind of, yeah. And some of them are looking like sympathetically, like, I wish I could. I wish you could. I'm sorry, I can't. And he's asking other people that walk by. Some of them are employees, some of them are not. I'm like, they don't even work here. They can't do that. And I'll be honest and say that I was
Yeah.
less than patient with him at this point. I'm like, we need to go. They're not going to give it to us. We need to go, and we'll figure it out next time. And he's still asking. And the guy behind the counter says, sorry, man, you're going to have to like take him. And I'm like, you can see that's what I'm trying to do. And then at this point, I've also told them,
Oh.
as he continues to ask, I've told them, you can ignore him. It's okay. You're not being rude. Just ignore him. Like I'm telling him, like, don't engage. It's okay. But he's still
Oh.
asking. And then the guy says, sorry, man, you're going to have to take him or else I'm going to have to call somebody. And I said, call somebody? You ain't going to call anybody. Who are you going to call? Like, for what? Like who are you going to call? Like, what, and like, who's somebody? And he says, well, we can't get our work
Wow.
done. And
Wow.
so we left. And I said, look, let's go to get the other bags that you want. So he goes to the optometry department. They have a
Mm.
little bag that says optical with a uh, what is it? It's a little bag that says optical with a string on it, right? So
Okay.
they give him the optical bag and everything, and the girl is friendly. She's same energy that she's always given, and it's like night and day. And we left there, and on the way home, he just kept apologizing to me. I'm like, no, 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 your expectations were unmanaged or mismanaged. You don't have anything to apologize about. So I contacted the store, and this is what has transpired since the last episode.
Yeah.
I contacted the store twice asking for the manager. Actually, what I did is I went into Gemini AI to ask about where, for contact information. And it not only gave contact information, but drafted, an email and everything. And I liked
Okay.
the idea that came with it. So what I did is I contacted the store, asked for the manager twice. Nobody got back to me. And they gave me the number for CVS because they said, well, we don't hire them or train them. I said, yeah, but they're still in your house though. If you come over to my house, and, you know, your guest or somebody you brings with you spills something on my carpet or whatever, it's like, it's all connected. But
Right.
anyway, I contacted CVS, had a great rapport with them, and they gave me a case number. And then I contacted Target Corporate
Yeah.
and had a similar experience with them. But as far as the store itself goes, and it is a store here in the San Fernando Valley, um, they nobody's ever called me back. And all I'm doing is just keeping receipts and taking notes, and we'll see what takes place. But what was really interesting
Oh.
and disheartening is that when I called the store, I got less humanity than I did from AI. Because the person that I called at the store just said,
Wow.
um, I think they
Mm.
might have said, oh, that shouldn't have happened. I'm not even sure if they said that after all the calls I made. But when I signed into Gemini and it said, well, tell me the story, and I told it everything that took place, it literally says, and this is not a human being, I did say it says, Shawn, I'm so sorry that you and your son had to go through that. That should
Yeah.
not take place. They should be
Right.
aware of the Americans for Disabilities Act. It's like everything.
I
I got more
know.
compassion from artificial intelligence than I did from the store.
I get it. Oh, wow.
So we'll see what happens. I'll keep everybody posted as it progresses.
Yeah. I mean, it's so understandable and relatable
Mm-hmm.
over here.
Yeah.
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 It's just, we want, um, we want to change the world. We don't want to change our children, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but it's hard to not step in, intervene, rush things along. It's so very, very, very challenging
Yeah. Yeah.
to
It is.
not do that.
Yeah. And
So,
we've
yeah.
always said that we're audience members as well as hosts, because as I'm saying that, I'm taking mental notes to make sure I keep that in mind tonight as we travel. You know,
Wait, are you going to take some medication too, Mr. Shawn?
I already have.
Okay. Okay. I mean, let's just
Just
all have
keeping
our
it real.
levels. Let's make
Yeah,
sure we're all leveled out.
yeah, and that's a whole other thing altogether. But
Yeah.
when I say I took medication, I didn't go to the corner and hit up Pookie and buy some of what he had.
Stop
Um,
it.
I have a prescription. I have a prescription because of the self discovery that I've been on and everything, and I've shared
Yes.
my own
Yes.
diagnosis of ADHD and
Yes.
that kind of thing. And by the same token, I know when it's time to maybe kind of pull back and that kind of thing. So that goes back to the stuff we talk about on the show all the time, which is stay curious, be more childlike and less childish. Keep the consciousness raised and ask as many questions as you possibly can, as much about yourself
Absolutely.
as you do about anybody else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? Your experience at the pharmacy, I will tell you, like for all the people who were present and experiencing that, everyone is going to have that made a mark on every whether it's however they're processing what happened. That's going to
Hmm.
stay with them and stick with them for
Yeah.
sure. It's a learning moment. It's a learning opportunity. It's life experience, lived experience, being
Hmm.
in the
Yeah.
real world. So I'm hoping that everyone can hopefully move forward with some additional compassion. And like we never know what's going on
No,
behind
no, we don't,
those doors.
and the lessons are there, but they're also wasted if we don't take them too, and don't act on
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
So,
Right. Do
like
some let's yeah.
people always say that knowledge is power, which it is, but action is king. And you can't take action if you're not at least asking questions. And those are the things that we've talked about in past episodes, like what is the gift of a diagnosis? And we try to talk about seeing the benefit without overlooking or belittling someone who's in a situation that's so dark that all they see is the challenges.
Yeah, right. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
'Cause all our situations are different. And in our case, especially, man, Lord knows we need each other. We really all do.
Yeah, yes, yes. Absolutely. Listen, everything is an opportunity for our own awakening.
Hmm.
Um and I hope you take that into your beautiful inaugural trip, right?
We'll
With
do. Yeah.
Elijah, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
pay attention to all of the beautiful signs and lessons and guidance from the universe. Like I'm ecstatic for you guys.
Yeah, we are too, because as much as we're worried, we are excited. I'm really, I'm so thankful for this platform and this opportunity, as we wind down the episode, because I'm always reminded, so I've had a bunch of work things, my financial services business that took place this morning. I have some, believe it or not, or just one, just a few minutes long, that's taking place after. And
Mhm.
I had contemplated, oh my gosh, am I gonna do this show today? And then the other thing I did is,
Mm.
so as I shared my own discovery, I began therapy as well. So I had a couple sessions, and got to a point where I was like, and once a week, I was like, I could stretch these out. I don't need to, So now they're like once a month, and kind of as needed, just for a
Okay.
matter of self discovery. And so there was one that was scheduled for today, and I got the text message that it was taking place today. And I was like, I don't know about that. I don't know that I need that. I kind of want to check in. And
Mm.
it's 9 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, am I going to do that on the same day? And then we're traveling on the same day that we're recording. I don't know if I should I, but I'm so glad and thankful that I did both,
Yeah.
because I've received
Mm.
innumerously and in ways that are still
Mm.
yet uncounted. So,
Mhm.
uh,
Mhm.
it is my deepest hope and desire that somebody out there will hear this episode or see this episode if you're catching it on YouTube, and get the giving portion of it, not just from me, but from you as well.
Yeah, well, I would also like to offer that you have been able to release And in your releasing, you have also been sharing your truth and what
Mhm.
is real and true for you and your family right now. And that is the most precious gift. So
Yeah.
I echo your words. We are here, you know,
Mhm.
we're our life and our living and our work, it's all the same, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we are you, we see you, we are here for you. You know, I would offer that you know, respond to the comments under our YouTube channel and write questions that you think might be of interest to you. I mean, we really
Mhm.
want to build this community and make it a very sort of palpable, like, you know, engaging, dynamic, living and breathing all together. Let's be on this journey.
That we do.
Because, right? I mean, we
And
are
I'll share
alive. Yeah.
and I'll share something, like, be really transparent. For the past at least 5 years, I've had and I think I've talked about this before, what I simply call a thing health-wise, meaning that I get my annual physical and I've had other tests and stuff done and nothing can be found as to what's wrong. I'll have moments where I just feel either fatigued or
Mm,
um, kind of, run down. It was kind of related to, like, there's some high blood pressure. I have medication for that, but other stuff that just doesn't really add up. And I was feeling that
mm,
this morning
mm.
and took some deep breaths and did some relaxation and a Reiki session. um, but
Okay.
and I felt better after, but I feel even better. And I know it's a combination of it after being here and,
Mm,
like you said, releasing. So the hope is that, not that we're evangelical, but I'm hoping that somebody in the deepest ways just reminded again that they're not alone. Because while I didn't feel alone, I'm, here with my family as I'm preparing and everything. While I didn't feel alone, being able to release here has reminded me that I am not alone. So the hope is
yeah.
that somebody out there that hears or sees this is reminded that they too are not alone. And if you want to feel less alone, you can go to our website, which is beyondthespectrumpodcast.com, and you can reach us there as well. Or you can email us at change the world at beyondthespectrumpodcast.com. That is the email address. And we'd love to hear your thoughts. If there's anyone you think we should be speaking with, we'd love to hear that. We have some great guests lined up. Susanna, I want to, as always, thank you so much for your friendship and
Hmm.
input today.
So happy to be here, and we'll see you soon.
Yep, and we've got some great shows coming up. Remember, be more childlike, less childish. Questions are more powerful than statements. And again, thanks to Billy Footwear. Click on the link in the show notes to get your discount. And we will see you very, very soon again on another episode of Beyond the Spectrum.